Picture this. You're starting your healing journey. You want to go see a therapist, but when you try to book one, they only have openings in the middle of your workday. You're working 9 to 5. When do you have the time to go? Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to settle anymore. So when it comes to finding the right doctor with Zocdoc, you've got options. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. Appointments made through Zocdoc also happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/lovely to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/lovely, Zocdoc.com/lovely. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Lovely. Happy Friday. I'm really excited. I'm heading into vacation mode soon, so I feel like I'm already checked out, but I can't wait to be in the warm weather. I'm going to Mexico City. I will say the dating apps are back on my phone. And there's been some cute conversations. Maybe I'll go on a date or two, but this week has been so busy. I don't know if I'm going to get time. I was really excited about last week's episode that I recorded with Summer Haroon. She was an acquaintance that I knew from 12 years ago, and now she is a marriage and family therapist. So we talked about a lot of interesting topics, but something that really stood out to me and the topic of the conversation was this tension that continues to build between men and women.
I have never seen people, guys and girls, hate each other as they do right now.
Why does that happen?
So once the Me Too movement happened, and the Me Too movement had to happen, right? There was no way as a society we could escape it. But there was a consequence that was paid of a movement like that. What it did was it started creating fear among men. Here, men were like, I can't approach a girl. She's going to say that I tried to grape her, right? Okay, now they're not progressing in the way that most men have, right? Where it's like going through the cycles of rejection.
Very interesting conversation. If you haven't heard that episode, definitely go give it a listen after this one. Today, I have someone really exciting. Her name is Jocelyn. She lives in New York. You've probably seen her on TikTok. She makes a lot of fun content about dating.
So I somehow have a knack for finding myself on really peculiar, really strange dates. It's not a superpower that I'm proud of, okay? I don't know how this became a thing for me, but my friends know me as someone who just happens to get like the weirdest fucking dates ever, okay?
Jocelyn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, we're so happy to have you. You're currently in New York, correct?
I am, yes. I just recently moved here from the Bay Area, so it has mostly been trying to like getting settled, making new friends, catching up with old friends who are out here. I've also been traveling a lot lately, and my friends who have been like watching my travels for the past few years have been like, hey, if you really want to like actually get settled in New York, maybe you should stick around for a bit. So I have been doing a little bit of the travel just to like get away from the crazy winter. Coming from being a Californian, I don't know how to survive winter. So instead of surviving it, I've just escaped the country. It's escaped New York, actually. But now that it's warming up and it's so much nicer here, I've been sticking around and just trying to make new friends.
With all this traveling, how is the dating life?
Well, it's been non-existent essentially because I haven't been around to continue dating someone. When I was in California, I was talking to my therapist at the time, and I was telling her that I wanted to date, but then I wanted to keep traveling. And she's like, well, you can't have both. You can't really expect to forge like a relationship, especially like early on when you're trying to get to know each other. Like you can't continue that momentum if you're just leaving the country all the time. And so she was like, how about you think about if you decide that you're ready for seriously dating, then stay in one place for a little bit, see how that goes. But if you're not ready, then just like get the travel out of your system, keep traveling. Cause she knew that I was planning on moving across the country. So dating in California didn't really make sense. So now that I am actually like in one place and I know I live here now, I have been like dabbling in the dating apps, which is primarily how I meet people, but I hate them.
Same.
They're not fun anymore. I don't know if you've had the same experience of like they did actually used to be fun once upon a time. And they did used to be useful for meeting people, even if it wasn't a good romantic fit, you would still meet people and it'd still be fine. You'd still have a good time. And now it's almost like it's pulling teeth. Starting a conversation with someone is really difficult. I feel like my dating apps have become super dry. And then when it comes to the point of like, okay, eventually we decide on a first date, I'm like, do I really want to go on this anymore?
I feel like the issue, I don't know if you feel the same way, but in terms of dating apps, I feel like they used to have people that were more intentional with dating and they were willing to act on it quickly. The thing that I see now is you get on a dating app, there's so many people on dating apps, right? So there is like, either there are so many options or there's this illusion of options. So everyone's just swiping. They're not really setting a standard for swiping. Like this is who I'm attracted to. These are like, I like the profile, whatever. They're just swiping to swipe. And then I think what irritates me is, someone will send you a like or someone will message your profile or like try to match with you. And then I match with them. And then they're waiting me to make the move. I'm like, no, babe, like that's not how it works. So for me, it's like, if you like me, I match with you, you don't message me within 24 hours, you're out. You match with me, you talk to me, you don't ask me out within 72 hours, you're out. I want someone to be intentional with dating. And I feel like dating apps are kind of like lacking that. So I totally get it. But something that I also want to get to know a little bit more about you is a little bit about your background. We have a lot of guests that have grown up with so much culture and you travel a lot. So you meet so many different people from all different walks of life and you kind of moved around a lot. Really curious to hear, what is your connection to immigrant identity and what did you see growing up that kind of plays out as you're looking for a partner or you're going on dates?
I am a child of immigrants. Both my parents immigrated from Burma, Myanmar, I think in their 20s or early 20s, something like that. My dad immigrated when he went to university. He ended up going to university out here. And then my mom, same thing. She was the first of her entire family to be sent out to San Francisco to kind of like get things started for everyone else to come over. Both my parents worked when my brother and I were growing up. And I've heard a lot about the hardship of kind of what my mom's family has gone through when they immigrated. Like, it wasn't just their nuclear family of 10 that immigrated over at the same time and then lived in the same place. It was the aunts and uncles and the cousins that came in. And so in like a 3-bedroom apartment, there must have been like 16, 18 people living there for a few years early on. And I've heard from my aunts and uncles, like they took up a paper route when they were like 6 years old and, just to make any sort of little bit of money to like contribute to the household. And my parents emphasized getting an education and, working hard and following more of a traditional career path. So that's what I currently do. I work in tech, coming from the Bay Area, very, very normal, very boring. And yeah, so that's been it. Like I do really appreciate my family's immigrant background because there's so much that ties a lot of us who are children of immigrants together with a very similar upbringing and experience. And there's so much nuance also, especially when it comes to like stuff like mental health. that has been part of my content also on TikTok, where I talk about kind of like the struggles sometimes that we go through as children of immigrants and trying to connect with our family members who have had very, very different lives and experiences growing up. And so I've learned that a lot of people have gone through the same thing and find solace in having someone talk about it online publicly.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you are talking about it online. But I think in terms of what you said about your family, I feel the same way. I think you always hear kids, say, oh, like maybe my parents could have done this a little bit better. They could have done that a little bit better. And again, I think everyone could have done things a lot better. But I really, really look up to my parents in terms of I applaud their courage and bravery to move to a completely different country with not knowing the language, with not knowing how to navigate the economy and like how they're going to make a living, but they figured it out. Picture this. You're starting your healing journey. You want to go see a therapist. But when you try to book one, they only have openings in the middle of your workday. You're working 9 to 5. When do you have the time to go? Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to settle anymore. So when it comes to finding the right doctor with Zocdoc, you've got options. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. Appointments made through Zocdoc also happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/lovely to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/lovely, Zocdoc.com/lovely.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
I know you alluded to the fact that you don't have any responsibilities or dependencies right now, no pet, no relationship, no nothing. And in order for you to date, you have to be, in New York since you have been moving around so much. I guess first and foremost, I would like to know, how would you categorize what it's like to date in New York City?
In general, dating in a big city, I've learned, is tough.
Well, suppose he did it this way.
Hey, Ann, what you doing Saturday night?
Well, I guess I'm busy.
Well, is there another way?
I'm sure it's hard everywhere, especially modern dating right now. But specifically in larger cities, I've noticed larger metropolitan cities, the mindset of people our age in their 20s and 30s, we're not trying to settle down anytime soon. It's not in the suburbs or smaller towns or in the Midwest where people are trying to get married by 23 and pop a child by 25. A lot of people are prioritizing career and prioritizing
travel,
living life. Yeah, enjoying life before taking on a larger responsibility like marriage and building a family and purchasing property and all that kind of stuff. In New York, my experience has been that it's a lot of the classic Peter Pan syndrome of, a lot of men just don't want to grow up or they don't know what they're looking for. So they'll just go on dates just to pass the time. One of their hobbies is dating. Coming from San Francisco, the whole joke is the odds are good, but the goods are odd, because the odds are good because there are more single eligible bachelors than there are single eligible women. So the women take their pick. Whereas in New York, it's switched. So there are more single eligible women than there are men. And so essentially the women are competing for the men. But in my experience, it's both been equally awful in San Francisco and New York. I will say my worst dates have been in New York. And I think part of it has been maybe, I don't know, it's just like people don't know how to socialize or like how to behave properly.
Give me an example. Give me like your worst date in New York. What was it? What happened? What did you do?
Dating disaster.
There's two, actually. Absolute worst date where I felt, I was like, there's no way this person really thinks this way, was earlier days, like right after things started opening up after the lockdown from COVID. I was visiting in town, but I was like here for a while. And this was when I was like starting to evaluate if I was going to move out here. And I had matched with a guy on Hinge. I had told him ahead of time, like, hey, by the way, I'm just visiting. If you're looking for something serious or if that isn't something you're interested in, like just like meeting someone, I'm just here to meet people. I'm okay with making friends. Like if that's not what you're looking for, totally fine. We don't have to go on a date. But he was like, yeah, let me like show you one of my favorite bars, meet up with him. And I think it was like Lower East Side or East Village. And it was just really crazy. He, first of all, led with some very invasive questions, like really early on, showed up and said, like, I'm surprised that you even showed up to this date. And I was like, what are you talking about? We confirmed. And then he was like, I wonder why people keep bailing on me.
Okay, wait. I have a question. So just so I can visualize it, this is probably about like 4 years ago?
3-4 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
3-4 years ago. Okay. So you matched with this guy on Hinge. You let him know I'm like visiting. You guys set up a date. Were the vibes off while you guys were trying to set up a date?
He seemed really normal on his profile. And it was like one of those things where it's like you match, quick conversation, schedule the date. I was like, sure, boom, bam, boom, that's great. And so no red flags off the bat. But then when we met and he showed me his Hinge profile, and this person is not Asian. And he showed me his Hinge matches, all Asian girls. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, red flag.
Oh no, I'm in danger.
This is danger zone, girl. What was going through your mind?
Well, first I was like, okay, so clearly he has a type. And I was just like, oh God, how do I get out of this? But I think I was just too nice back then also because I had just come out of a really terrible breakup, probably a year prior, something like that. I had come out of a long-term 4-year relationship, ended in a very terrible way. And that relationship had started in my early 20s, like right after graduating college. So during that relationship, I didn't really feel the need to go bar hopping or go partying with friends because I was like, I'm in a relationship. I was like very introverted at the time and my ex was very introverted. So I was just like, I never did too much. I never did the typical 20s thing. There were questions in the back of my mind sometimes where I was like, am I like missing out on anything? Because a lot of my friends at the time were very single and they were partying and they were bar hopping and having a great time. But I just never felt the need to do that. So I had questioned that and then we broke up and then I did the 20s thing. I started going to bars more and partying and dating. And it turns out I was missing out on a lot. But yeah, I was too nice. I stuck it out. And then at some point, like early on actually in the date, he asked me 2 very crazy questions. He said, 1, what is your relationship with your father? Even though we had not brought up family whatsoever. And then 2, he said, are you dominant or submissive? And I was like, what? Whoa, where did this? I said, I refuse to answer. I was like, I'm not answering that question. That's super inappropriate. So that was crazy. Yeah. And then it got way worse. And it ended up with him walking out of the date before I left. I mean, he brought up being anti-vax, but his mom was a nurse. And then he denied that specifically Asian children of immigrants, like Asian Americans, dealt with mental health problems, even though he was not Asian himself. And I was like, you're speaking to someone it was crazy. And then there came a point where I was like, I wanted to go to the bathroom to escape, but the bathroom was in the back of the building. There was no escape. Do I go to the bar and then ask for like an angel shot at this point? Because I really do not feel great in this position. But luckily, he walked himself out. And I was like, thank God. Because I did specifically remember that I was like, if I bail on this date, like if he went to the bathroom and I just escaped, I was scared that he would try to run out and like follow me. Because like you're walking around in New York and stuff. And so I was like, I was too chicken and I just let it happen. And luckily, he paid for the date and then he walked out before me without saying bye or anything. It was like, oh God, that was really bad.
I don't think I've ever been on a date where someone has showed me their Hinge profile. Like, I don't know if that was like a first for you, but that's never happened. I don't want to make any assumptions because I don't know this man, but it seems like he definitely had a type, right? And then also had a type in terms of does I like the type to be this background? Does she have daddy issues? And is she going to be submissive or dominant? Because that kind of what it leads to. It just seems truly odd. In the comment about like mental health. Ugh. So you mentioned something. You're like, this was earlier, 3-4 years ago. I was a lot nicer back then. The same thing happened to you now. What would you do?
I would end the date. I would literally, I think like if something like that happened, I would just be like, hey, this is not the right fit. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I think we should go our separate ways. And then just end it that way. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to sit around and like have a terrible, terrible, terrible few hours. Like I don't want that anymore. I did have a recent date that was bad, but not like awful like that, where I was like, okay, I'm just going to like, the guy seems nice. Like maybe he's just like a little quirky and like, maybe I'll sit this out and see if it goes anywhere. Because I feel like if it's maybe not an initial, maybe chemistry thing, I think, there's a chance that maybe they're nervous on a first date or maybe they just haven't got their groove yet. So I do give people chances, but if it's something egregious, like that date from like 3-4 years ago, I will end it. I will end it now. I think the shortest date I've been on has been like 30 or 45 minutes where I was just like, okay, I gotta go now. It's not fun anymore. Like, I won't say that to their face, but I will make up an excuse. And then later on, if they seemed normal, then I'll just text them and be like, hey, it was nice meeting you, but I didn't feel a romantic fit. Wish you the best.
I think that's a healthy way to approach it. I do think one of the issues that we do face is we are so quick to write off people. So similar to what you said, like I had these 2 matchmakers on the podcast. It was our first episode. And one of the advice that she gave to people dating is don't write people off right off the bat if they are a little nervous or quirky or whatever. Because she's like, imagine meeting your now best friend for the first time. Maybe you didn't like what they were wearing the first time. Maybe they were a little nervous. Maybe they weren't getting your jokes. You weren't getting their jokes. But then you gave them more time. You saw them again. And now they're your best friends. And I think the same happens in dating. We make so many of these assumptions. But again, there's a difference between giving someone a chance to see if they're nervous versus someone saying bad shit, crazy stuff to you. And you're like, okay, like there's no giving you a chance. Like this is who you are. We're not holding on to potential. Like people show you really early on who they are and they tell on themselves. And I think that man really told on himself. You said you recently went on a date that wasn't, was this the one where you were like, I'm giving him a chance? So did you see him again?
No. So I went on the second like really bad date was back in November of last year. So that would have been, that's like 7 months ago. And it was just so bizarre that I ended up just taking a break from dating after that date. Cause I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. It like completely put me off dating for a bit just because it was so bizarre. We meet at a Starbucks Reserve, which has a bar, but like the suggestion for Starbucks Reserve was already like, okay, why? Why wouldn't you just choose? We're in New York. Like, why would you choose a Starbucks Reserve? Granted, I am liable because I did say yes. Because I didn't want to be like weird and be like, oh, like, I don't want to like, I don't want to give him a hard time.
I get that, especially on the first date. I feel like even if I'm like, oh, I don't want to go here, I won't be super picky about the spot on the first date because I'm like, okay, you know what? You don't want to shut down someone taking the lead to pick a place. Like, I totally get that. We don't have a Starbucks Reserve here. I think there's only one in like New York or like somewhere else, but I can still imagine like coffee bar, like New York has so many cool spots. Like, you're right. Why wouldn't you just pick a spot there? But okay, so you get there, then what happens?
So meet him, he seems normal. And then we sit down and we're talking about, the things that we want to try, because initially he suggested the Starbucks Reserve bar because they had seasonal, holiday drinks. So specifically they had espresso martinis and different flavors. And so we were looking at the menu and he suggests that we share a flight, which flights are always really small, tiny little drinks that you do a little tasting of. They're meant for individuals. And so he's like, no, like, let's share. And then at the end, we'll choose our favorite and then we'll get another one. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. So while we're sharing this flight, which I don't like sharing drinks with someone right off the bat like that. Well, I don't do that. I don't share the same glass. While we're getting things started, we're sharing drinks from the same glasses. Don't know this man. I don't like that. It's germs. I don't like the idea of like backwash or spit. Then he starts peppering me with like question after question after question, which granted, very better than him not asking a single question, which I have dealt with in the past. I'm sure you probably have dealt with that. It was like he was going through a checklist. Where did you grow up? Why did you move to New York? How long do you want to be here? Where do you want to end up retiring and living the rest of your days? Like, do you want to get married? How many children do you want to have? Like, all of the questions. And then not even having an organic conversation coming out of like my answering these questions. It would just move on to the next one immediately. And I was like, it was just crazy. Question after question. I also remembered like really early on into our conversation, he starts putting his hands on me, like touching me, when there is no indication that I'm interested in that way. We're just talking. There's no vibes because we can't vibe if we're not having a proper conversation. He's just interviewing me. We ended up we finished the flight of drinks, and then he was like, let's not order another drink. Let's go to a different bar. So I didn't even get to order the espresso martini flavor I wanted. Go to a second bar. He again wants to share drinks. This time we're actually ordering full drinks, but he's like, okay, what drink do you want? And I was like, oh, I was eyeing this one. And he's like, oh, I was looking at that one too, but here's another one I was thinking of. So let's order those two and we'll share them. And I was like, what? I was just like, how do I get out of
this? Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
So when the waitress comes to take our order, he just orders the drinks and then she comes to bring them to our table and she's like, okay, who ordered what? And he's like, just in the middle. Just put them in the middle, please.
Did you say no? I don't want to share them?
No, it was just at a certain point, guilty. I was like, how do I make myself so insufferable that he never wants to see me again? How do I get out of this? Because he's clearly into me. Because he's still trying to touch me. He's still trying to break that touch barrier. He's grabbing onto my hands and I'm just like, what is happening, because I have never once given him any signs that I'm like, very interested in him in that way. At some point, he asks, he grabs onto my hands from across the table and is playing with them. And he asks me, what are your love languages? Which is such a, honestly, it's such a fuckboy move.
Let me guess. He said physical touch is his.
Yeah,
Of course.
Like every other man in the universe, which I don't think these men understand, that physical touch, they don't understand that, as a love language, that's not what it means. Of course, people like touch from the people that they love. No shit. But that's not how it works. Because for me, physical touch is one of my love languages. But if you are someone I don't know and I don't love, or I don't have a clear, strong connection with, I am repulsed by you touching me. I feel like guys just like touching people. And it's just why do you have to bring that up so early? It makes no sense.
They're fucking horny and they just want to sleep with you. Oh my God, it pisses me off. The minute I hear that, I roll my eyes. I'm like, okay, cool.
And it's just why do you have to bring that up so early? It makes no sense.
It's actually pathetic that they don't understand that you are supposed to find out the person you like, what their love language is, because that's how they're able to receive it. Just because your love language is physical touch doesn't mean you have to impose your love language on them, because theirs could be something different. But I have a question for you. Have you had a bad experience in the past by speaking up and telling someone, I don't like this on a date, or don't do this to me, which is why you felt you couldn't say anything on this date? You seem very kind, you're very nice, you don't want to offend anyone. When it gets to a point when someone is in your personal space, or you're clearly I don't want to share this drink, I guess what was going through your mind where you're maybe I don't want to say anything, or your immediate reaction was, how can I make him hate me, rather than you being buddy, I don't like you.
So I am a recovering people pleaser. I think especially early on in my dating years, when I first started dating, which was when I was 18, I never dated in high school. And then I went off to college, and that's when I started dating. I was raised, going back to the immigrant thing of be a good daughter and serve people, and be, just listen to what you're told and never say no. And so that has followed me through my adult years. And so I'm learning to set boundaries, because boundaries were never a thing until probably 4 or 5 years ago for me. I never once learned about setting boundaries until it came to a point where I was okay, I'm having certain issues with certain relationships in my life, familial and romantic. And I don't know how to express how I'm feeling. If something makes me uncomfortable, or maybe I'm not feeling happy or satisfied with something, I don't know how to express that to someone, and also set a boundary of, hey, this didn't feel, or this didn't sit right with me. This action that you didn't sit right with me. Can you not do that anymore? And so in my dating life, I unfortunately have had some experiences where saying no, or not reciprocating a romantic feeling, has led to a guy being really crazy and harassing me and calling me nonstop, texting me nonstop. I've had guys actually go on my social media and just comment on so many things publicly, just really crude comments, cruel comments. It's harassment. I've been harassed. And so I've had that before. I think it's just mostly I'm a small girl. I'm 5 feet, 5'1", very petite. And I feel a lot of women have this fear in the back of their minds when, if they do reject someone in person, that their safety is in jeopardy. And so I think to preserve my safety, my instinct has been okay, let's just tough this out. Let's just sit through this discomfort. It's going to end eventually. And then the thing I have to do eventually, which is like to reject them over the phone or something like that, when there is some sort of like separation, that is not as scary or terrible as doing it face to face. But I am learning, at least with people that I do feel safe with. I'm not as scared to be like, okay, I gotta go now. And then I end it there. Yeah.
A lot of people have been raised to have these people pleasing tendencies, and it's not a switch that you can just immediately turn off. It's actually really sad that this has become our reality where we don't want to do something, but rather than just saying that out loud, we have to think about 10 other things that might come with it, which is our safety being jeopardized or people harassing us. I have a therapy session every week. And I think my therapist and I have had some fun sessions unpacking people pleasing tendencies. And I think some of the things she just tells me is you have to listen to your body and you have to listen to your mind when something is like feels off, right? And then you have to immediately don't gaslight yourself into thinking that this is not what's happening, because your body will react to it before you verbally get it out. And something that I've practiced for years and years and years is that doesn't work for me. The only way it will happen, again, like it takes a lot of mentally not saying it first. Then when you say it the first 3 times, you're like, okay, I feel empowered. I feel good. And you build confidence by doing something again and again. That's why when you're so confident at your job is because you've done the same task again and again. So you just like keep saying it. Again, I'm not trying to preach or be culty, but it's a learning process. It's a learning process. But I hope you don't go on any more bad dates. Like, that's not what I'm wishing for you. But if you do find yourself in a sticky situation, I hope my words are popping into your mind and you can immediately be like,
I'm probably going to hear you in the back of my mind being like, that doesn't work for me.
yeah, that doesn't work for me. Let's talk about what does work for you, okay? It's hard when you are surrounded by so many experiences that like didn't go well. I have my own list of non-negotiables or standards because you hold yourself to a certain standard. And I think it's very normal to ask of the person that you're dating to bring those to. But I think other good examples are like the relationships your friends are in, or what you see, like how their partners act. And you're like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. And I also saw something that you posted around like third wheeling your friends. Talk to me a little bit about that.
That is actually one of my biggest recommendations for anyone who's single and is trying to get a feel for what they want in a relationship. Spend more time with your friends and their partners. I know people hate the third wheeling thing and they're like, well, I want to hang out with my best friend, not her boyfriend. Like, why is a man here? But honestly, I think I'm also lucky that most of my friends have such good partners. I get to see how a man treats the love of his life and her best friends or close friends or acquaintances even. How he treats a woman that he is not attracted to. How he treats a woman that doesn't owe him anything, or, like that whole thing of like, how does he treat a woman that is not a romantic prospect for him? And in general, just how does he treat women? That's been a big thing. And I've learned so much from spending time with my friends and their husbands, fiancés, boyfriends. And a lot of them have just really like blown my mind of what's possible, because I compare them and their actions to like what my ex used to do, which was he never wanted to hang out with me and my friends together. I think in the 4 years that we dated, he maybe met my friends 2-3 times. We have much higher standards now. But there was like a time where I had asked him if he wanted to go hiking with me and one of my best friends. And he was like, I'll go if you want me to, but like, I personally don't want to. And it was the same that kind of thing of like, I personally don't want to hang out with your friends, but if it's important to you, I'll do it because I love you. But he never had the interest in meeting and hang out with my friends. I want a partner who wants to be part of that, who wants to be fully ingrained in the rest of my life, which is like, includes being friends with my friends.
That energy of like, oh, I'm not really interested in coming, but like, if you want me to, like, it's very much giving come if you want. Why does it have to be that? Like, you are in a relationship with me. I'm assuming, is it so wrong to assume that you love me and that you care for me? So if you know these people are so important to me, why wouldn't you make an active effort to include yourself in my life? Why does it have to be like so separate? So again, I am sorry you had to go through that, but you deserve so much better. So I'm glad that you are not with that man anymore. And I think another thing that you said that is so, so, so important for everyone to listen and understand. Your partner, you need to really be watching out for how they act towards people that can do nothing for them. It's like how they do one thing is how they do everything. So if they're talking badly about women, you are not the exception. And if they're thinking badly about women and they think that, you know, they have all these like rules and stuff, like they get put into this box or that box, they're thinking the same about you. I feel like some people would be like, wow, like your friend's partner is doing something amazing. And like, he is a good man, Savannah, hold on to him. But again, is the bar in hell that we are, you know, giving applause for like grown ass men to just be kind and be considerate and make sure that when girls are drinking, if I can drive them, why not drive them and make sure they're safe? So who knows? Maybe when you're on your eat, pray, love, love will happen.
That's a great way to find someone with the same interests too. Like I love to travel. He loves to travel. We'll meet on a plane. Like actually one of my best friends, she met her fiance on a plane. And it's like the cutest, it's the best meet cute story ever. And I'm like hoping for something similar, you know, maybe that's how I meet someone in the wild, not on a dating app, not swiping. As much as a lot of us do get jaded with modern dating and dating apps and everything like that, I feel like a lot of us are deserving. Don't give up those standards because they are never too high, because there's always someone out there for everyone. And take a break, take some me time. If you don't want to date and you're having a horrible time, take a break. And that's all you need, because that's what I do.
I'm manifesting it for you. I am manifesting it for you, for myself, all the New York and Toronto girlies, because the ratio is really, really off. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for coming on the episode today. I had a great time chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Any final words you want to leave our listeners with?
You can find me on TikTok at JAWSOLYN, Jocelyn, but just like a phonetic spelling of my name. I don't do just dating content. It's more of like lifestyle, but every now and then you will hear about my dating life if that is of interest. But I also do talk about kind of my experience growing up as a child of immigrants, what life is like kind of starting new in your late 20s, early 30s in a different city, picking up and, you know, starting over and stuff like that. And then also like making new friends as an adult, because I know a lot of people have that struggle.
I will be following. And yeah, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
Lovely is an Immigrantly media production. This episode was produced by Sadia Khan and Shay Yu, written by me, Mahek. Music, sound design, and editing by Lou Raskin. Other music is by Epidemic Sound. Tune in every Friday for more Lovely.